Hello and welcome to today's episode of Live with Impact. This is Angela Brown and I'm here today with Omuugn and we're talking about common sense. I know you're thinking common sense is not common, is it? Well, it depends on the information that you have. So we're going to talk about that and we're going to discover how we can find common sense in our everyday activities to help us make wiser choices. So please help me welcome Omuugn. How
Oh,
are
good
you
morning.
today?
I'm fine. It's a cold, blustery winter day. There's actually a tractor out plowing my lane as we speak. We have deep snow and it's a beautiful winter day.
Well, I hate the fact that there's snow because I am not a fan of the snow, but I love the fact that somebody's out there blowing the snow for you. It's kind of chilly where I am today, too. So I say that we have our jackets on. For those of you that are joining us, this is the Insights and Wisdom of Omuugn, Volume 1. And there are actually two volumes in our series. These are both available online. We're talking about common sense. If I open this up, it says common sense is based on the principle that things should be done in the best possible way and at the best possible time using the proper equipment and resources. I'm hoping that you can dig into this and just unpack this and share with us what common sense is.
There's some unique perspectives on common sense. The first one that we need to understand is that everyone has their own version of common sense. As we look at the world around us, the way our government functions, the way our financial system functions, the way diversity works its way into our culture in many different ways, the way things change over time, we come to a place where we realize that common sense is not so common. Some of the situations that we've gotten ourselves into, for example, the vast increase in homelessness in many of our big cities. If everyone were utilizing the principles of common sense, things would be different than they are. So, first, let's talk about what common sense is. It refers to practical judgment based on a combination of our experience, our observations, and good reasoning capabilities. It's the ability to make reasonable and prudent decisions in everyday situations, relying on a general understanding of how the world works and what is generally considered sensible and rational. There are certain characteristics of common sense. Common sense focuses on solutions in real life situations. For example, if you have a pipe that breaks under your sink, what do? You need to take almost immediate action, and common sense would take you through that process of what those actions would be. There's sort of an intuitive gut feeling attached to common sense. We feel that some things are appropriate or inappropriate, or things would work or not work, just based on how we feel and how we emotionally respond to things. And a lot of times, those are accurate and sometimes they're not. So we have to learn how to differentiate between those two. Common sense is also based on a principle called cause and effect. If you put a certain cause into operation, it's going to have a certain effect. And we have to understand the consequences of the decisions that we make. If you look at some of the bills that are passed in Congress, the way that we spend more money than we have in the budget and are accumulating debt at an exponential rate, those all violate the principles of common sense. And common sense is different in every culture. Common sense would differ not only for the individual, but for the culture that individual is in. Usually common sense also is based around what we would term simplicity. If you're going to stop the leak under your sink, what is the easiest, quickest, most simple way that we could do that?
Let me interrupt you for a second because I had that exact situation happen this last week. I had a leak underneath my sink, and my first common sense was turn off the water. My second common sense was, can I fix it by myself? So I went to YouTube and I tried to find a fix it for myself. And I think I just made it worse. So common sense number three, I called a plumber, and the plumber came out and he took one look at it. He spent literally less than a minute and a half. And he said, I can't fix that. I need to replace the whole faucet. So common sense number four was pay him for a service call, send him on his way, go buy a new faucet and install it myself, which is what I did. And the installing it myself took also about 5 minutes. So it wasn't a big problem. My common sense came in several steps along the way, but I kept thinking this one thing is going to fix it. I had to keep adapting and keep changing my common sense because I didn't have enough information to actually do the thing the first time.
Well, let's change the terminology just a little bit. The more I got into common sense as I wrote the book, I came to realize that common sense wasn't common, and common sense a lot of times wasn't logical. But it made more sense to me to actually change the name of common sense to sound judgment. And so as you went through those steps with your sink, you were applying principles of sound judgment. If you base your process on sound judgment and you do things that are based on certain principles that have been accepted, then you're moving in the right direction. And as you do that, your common sense expands because the next time you have a similar problem, you have an experience in your database that will relate to the common sense that you have. The more experience that we have and the more we learn from our experiences, the greater our common sense becomes. So I think we should focus on sound judgment. But
Well, the
what
common
really
sense for me was my husband came home and he said, "What? You fixed the sink? By the way, the garbage disposal needs to be fixed and there's a running toilet in the other room." Whoa, whoa, whoa.
I hear you.
All righty. Come back next week, same time, same place. We're going to be discussing communication. Ah, another great topic. All right. Until then, have a great week.
All right. See you next week.